Good evening and welcome to the Psychic Coffee Shop. I'm Aeson Knight and I'm sitting down with Techie Joe. Our guest canceled on us the last minute. This happens. That's why we often have to have backup to rock it out.
Hey, it will roll with it.
Exactly. So with that, we were handed a news article by one of our baristas with the Barista Mostas, and I'm quite interested. Maybe I need to file for a deed for my, beach house in hell in the River Styx.
Hey, there's a possibility. A Mexican priest claims meeting with God sells, quote, land in heaven for $100. Greatest real estate scam. I'm sorry. Sometimes I just go, what?
Yeah.
What? So a priest in Mexico who claims to have had a meeting with God is raising eyebrows with his unprecedented offer. Plots of land in heaven. The pastor of the Church of the End of Time says he received divine approval during a personal meeting with God in 2017. The religious leader claims that the land in heaven can be bought for $100 per square meter. He also assured that the location of the land would be near God's palace. Visuals of the palace are gaining massive traction on the internet, showing a splendid mansion amid golden rays with a family of four. Payments are accepted through PayPal, Google Pay, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and other flexible payment plans. I'm sorry, you got Visa, MasterCard, American Express all on board with this. Like, they haven't jerked your ability. Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty. The church claims to have earned millions of dollars since 2017 from selling these plots in heaven. However, social media users failed to notice that the video is meant to be humorous. The video was shared on Facebook by a page known for posting humorous content. Since being shared, the clip has garnered over 100,000 views. Sharing the video, the Facebook page wrote, "Please, who can loan me 100 buses? I want to secure my heavenly loan." So one user commented, "I thought Nigeria was crazy. Mexico took it to another level." Another humorously shared, "Joke of the century. This one will just be a greater real estate scam." Another comment read, "Someone else asked, can I get a down payment?" An individual shared how these fake men of God successfully sell their lies. Another added, "They're building the metaverse." Oh. Okay, so this was supposed to be a giant joke that went
Viral.
well and apparently gained some money.
Yeah. A lot of money.
It's smart. I guess it's smart if you're gonna do a joke and you're gonna be like, "We accept payment."
Mm-hmm.
The address.
Yeah.
The address. Like, make sure you own that.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how many people finally get it's a joke and then demand a refund. Or do they just not?
Or are they just crazy?
I mean, or believe it, just perpetually believe it, like regardless of any proof to the contrary.
Right.
No, that's real. I would be humored to know how many payments have been received and how, like, who is currently the largest landowner.
Right.
I mean, because $100 a meter per square meter, like it's a little roughly 3 foot by 3 foot.
Right. Well, how many meters is a Sims normally?
Oh, good God. It depends. Like, a full sim is huge. Hold on. 256 meters by 256 meters. So 65,536 meters square.
Okay, and that's normally what? We figured up 300 a month?
300, yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah, it's $256 a month.
Yeah. So $1 per meter.
All right. They're making a profit.
Little
99%
bit.
profit on something
Well,
they've
yeah,
not
but
even built. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's like forever.
And
I mean, Second Life prices are monthly.
right.
I'm just saying.
Well, they're going to have the God tax, the 10% there. Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's, give unto God what is God, including his taxes.
Oh, true. I just, yeah. It's funny, but it's sad at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's sad to see that so many people are buying for this. Hello, Church of Satan. Can you step up so I can get the deed to my beach house by the river Styx, that everyone keeps telling me to go to hell about?
I mean, donate the money to cancer research or something.
Exactly.
They'll be nice with it.
Right.
Some things are hilarious. Some things are hilarious.
Some things are insane.
Sad. Very sad at the same time. It's funny.
Right.
And then it's like, oh God, how many people fell for this?
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. And furthermore, how many people bought it?
Very astute to set up the payments.
Right.
I mean, make your money. Oh, so many questions, says Brenda. Are you allowed to rent out your meter? If not, you need to buy enough to move around. Is there an HOA?
Exactly.
Oh, it's going to be the worst HOA, though.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you've seen people who go to church. Do you really want to spend eternity with them?
No.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm having a moment, and take it as you will. But I've had all the discount fake Oreos, the really bad ones, not decent. Kaladios aren't bad. Right. I'm talking about that 90s fake Oreo crap.
Mm-hmm.
That was just horrible. I've had enough of that in Kool-Aid for a lifetime.
Right.
I cannot imagine.
Right.
Because that's what it's going to be. It's going to be like that.
Right.
But somehow worse.
That of the cheap Kool-Aid.
Thank you, man.
All right. So let's rock over to a new vacation spot for me.
All right. So Virginia City repeals ban on psychic readings as industry grows and gains more acceptance. So Norfolk, Virginia, Ashley Branton has earned a living as a psychic medium for 7 years, helping a growing number of people with heavy choices about toxic relationships, home purchases, and cross-country moves. And while the tarot cards are never wrong, she said, they didn't see this one coming. The city council in Norfolk, Virginia, repealed a 45-year-old ban this week on the practice of palmistry, palm reading, phrenology, or clairvoyance for monetary or other compensation. Who's saying it turned out had been a first-degree misdemeanor and carried up to a year in jail. I had no idea that was even a thing, Brenton said with a laugh Thursday among the crystals in her Norfolk shop, Velvet Witch, where she also performs tarot readings and psychic healings. I'm glad it's never come down on me. How do you not know?
Right.
Like, Virginia has had some of the ugliest laws on the books.
Yeah, how do you not my point is, how did she get a business license to operate in Commonwealth without being flagged?
I get the feeling that, like, this was one of those Norfolk, Virginia versus Tazewell, Virginia moments. Because Tazewell was the last area this was a big flipping issue.
Right.
And that was a horrifically bad issue. Like, they
right.
shut down the store. It was a whole nightmare.
Right.
This instance, I think this is like the bigger city was like, we're not
made for this.
Like, screw it. We're not here for this.
Right.
Like, I have better things to do than Barney Fife, who did not. And was like, it's a small town.
Right.
So take that as you will. So yeah, but I have major issues with the fact, may I point out, you opened a shop without even knowing its legal status.
Right.
Like, there is a lack of situational awareness. That, on one hand, I find adorable.
All right.
It's getting better, and you don't have to worry about these things. And then there's another part of me that's like, but if you had been almost anywhere else in Virginia,
right,
like any small community, and you pulled this stuff, you would have been out so much money.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in jail time, up to a year in jail.
Yeah, like, your life would have been turned upside down. And I'm sure someone in a small town prosecutor's office under the same law would have sat there and tried to charge you per occurrence.
Yes.
Like, do you know how many years you could have ended up with? So there's part of me that's like, it gets better. Part of me that's like, y'all, seriously, if you're going to open a business, I don't care what the business is.
Right.
Double check the legalities of it. Make sure you can legally do this. Go to a lawyer. Make sure your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed if you're going to invest in a physical brick and mortar location.
Well, not only that, but this is what gets me, and it's always got me, is like, why do people not see this coming? Why do you not do your due diligence? Why? And this is even on other levels within our industry. Okay. In network industry, I have to remind them of their own laws.
Oh, yeah.
Their own policies, their own procedures. And I am like, who doesn't read the TOS? Who doesn't read the agreement, the consulting agreement that you sign? Who doesn't read the updates to it? Who makes them think that they can get by with this? And it's like, go read Employment Law 133 on the books since 1987. You can't do that. Managers hate me for it.
Right, and a large part of that is the number of companies that have gotten rid of HR and who have skipped over the idea of compliance officer.
Right.
They, you know what I mean? Like, I'm noticing a trend in businesses where you like skip over some very critical, important departments.
Right.
When you're in a business that has a lot of legal issues that, like, you're kind of socially against the grain, at least for a period 50 years ago.
Right.
And quite frankly, 50 years or more, some of these laws are still in the books. They are enforceable. It can get ugly.
Yeah.
Like, and we're not under a Supreme Court where you want to go fight now.
Well, not only that, but it's going to take a lot to get to the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, that business is potentially going to go belly up and cost you everything.
Right.
Like, don't play. Don't play.
Right.
Like, understand the realities that
Right.
we make laws.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and maybe some of that's the problem is, I'm curious. It doesn't give her age. It is like, how unaware are you? Like where I like, part of me appreciates you grew up in an area and in your own, structures, family structures, friend structures, everything else, that you never needed to know this till now.
Right.
And even then, it's kind of like, whatever. But like, how did you miss like the satanic panic of the 80s and even knowing that was a thing?
Right.
Like, we still make cultural references to it. Like, we're still making movies that flash back to the 80s and the 90s, and this whole like mentality that was going on, that a lot of non-Satanists, first of all, actual Satanists are really nice people, side note.
Very good people.
But forget that for a second. A lot of people who were into Wicca, witchcraft, paganism, like, you name it, got drug into the satanic panic. And this whole devil worship, witchcraft, evil, blah,
yeah.
Like, we're ritualistically sacrificing children concept. Like, we got to stop it. Absolute insanity when it happened. I don't know how you, like, either A, don't know that was a thing, or B, thought that didn't get laws passed.
Right.
That didn't freak some, like, conservative white Christians the fuck out.
Well, even deeper than that, I mean, let's go back even further. We have the Romney aggression, especially through the Virginias and the West Virginias and the Ohios and the North Carolinas. Why? Because they did not want the travelers coming through there. There are so many laws on the book right now over that are just sitting there.
Well, and a lot of them, I mean, it's not clear necessarily. It's not like, these are the laws to prevent gypsies in our town. That's not what they're titled under. These are not the laws to prevent some tarot reading witches from killing our children. That's not what they're under. Now, this one, it sounds like, was a little more clear because it did ban the practice of palmistry, palm reading, phrenology, clairvoyance. Like, it named it off. But when you talk about like the whole traveler concept, you get into like some of like building codes, laws against mobile housing or modular housing or non-foundational housing. You get into minimum housing sizes. The number of square feet per person, and you have to have a window, and you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to. All of this comes together.
And then pedal walls and permits and all these other things start fitting in there.
Yeah, and some of them are about housing, literal housing, zoning and requirements to and the things you can do with your property, and you can't create an encampment because of this, that, and other things. There are some points to those, not always necessarily applicable points. Like, it can be done. Do we necessarily want to encourage it to be done improperly? No. But it can be done properly, but the way the laws are written, you can't even do these things properly. Then there's the flip side of this is it's not really a housing law. Like, you're not going to have code enforcement show up and knock on your door. But then you turn around and these are laws that enable your whatever your children and family services are, DHHR, Division of Children and Families, whatever it is, to come in and jerk children because you have an unsafe living environment.
Right.
You don't have a stove. You don't have running water. You do not have electricity. You do not have any of these things. Yoink.
Or you've moved more than, I think it's 4 times in a year.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of these things that exist out there. It is very important, especially when you start into, and I hate using these words, but if you're anywhere near the word occult,
right?
If you are even occult adjacent, OCULT, occult adjacent, you have to be very careful about what areas, like, because you're going to potentially, and especially in the environment we're currently in, that is not very often welcoming,
right?
Especially in smaller towns,
right?
You have to be very, very careful that even if you're adjacent,
right,
you're not going to bring down the full wrath and like might of 100-year-old law,
right?
That no one's enforced in 80 some years,
right?
Will all of a sudden become a problem for you,
right?
It happens more than it should.
Yes.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
But these are things you actually have to be aware of.
Well, and you have to do your due diligence and your research.
Like, and part of that is, and I will forever say, is please, before you open a brick and mortar business,
right,
find a lawyer who specializes. I know there is a great resource you have for that. I forget what it is. I always forget what it is, and I hate that about myself. But there is a national organization.
Right, that's the Taurocracy Society.
Okay, I thought there was another legal defense.
Well, there's always the First Amendment.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, start there.
Oh, Lady Liberty.
Lady Liberty. There you go. Like, start there. Find a lawyer through them. Please do not put, because so many people are opening businesses based off of like cashing out their 401ks because they're sick and tired,
right,
of working for mega corporations that are sucking them dry.
Right.
And I get that. I'm there with that. But before you bank everything on a brick and mortar business,
right,
please spend the money and the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, Ashley, Ashley Branton, and let's see, what is her shop?
Velvet Witch.
Velvet Witch. You got lucky.
Yep.
You're so lucky.
Yep.
You do not understand the level of lucky.
Well, let's look at the one I was involved in repealing, which was Parkersburg's fortune-telling ban. Hawthorne cashed out everything to start her business, and the city came in and shut her down. And by the time we went through that process, with the support of Lady Liberty program with Sacred Circle, with the support of the ACLU, with the support of legal fees, she was penniless. She had to close her shop, even though we got the law changed.
Yeah. Like, it will potentially bankrupt you. Like, you really can't play with this stuff.
No.
Like, it's and the reality is, in a lot of instances, you don't realize what you don't realize.
Right.
And it's why I'm like, please.
Right.
Before you make that kind of investment.
Right.
Like, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if it's this. I don't care. Like, honestly, I don't care what kind of business you're opening. Even if it should be legal. do everything you can to make sure you're not going to be victim of some stupid people.
Right. Well, it's like
100 years ago.
Well, not that, but like Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, all forms of fortune telling is illegal.
Mhm.
So you can't work in those states.
I know, but then it starts getting interesting about like how does that apply to businesses that are not in that state but have customers in that state?
It is based on your location.
Well, I mean, it is until it isn't.
Right.
Like that's the sad reality. Is enough people create a problem,
Mm-hmm.
and suddenly you have a state attorney general
Mm-hmm.
who is going to score some campaign points,
Right.
and is going to go after this corporation.
Right.
I mean, these are the sad realities of the world we live in, and I hate that. I do. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Right.
But I also hate watching someone bank their entire like life savings
Right.
on a business because it takes a lot to open a business.
Yeah. $10,000.
Yeah, in like investing your entire life savings into this, just to have it blow up in your face over something stupid.
Right.
Like, please be careful.
Very much so. All right, guys, we're going to move into some Reddits. I don't know. I'm going to let him choose from either psychic services or real witchcraft, and you're going to get the Aeson hot take.
Oh, well, let me bring up both. And maybe we can pull a couple, because I think we're going to have a fair amount of time tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry, we didn't quite have a full show planned.
Right.
Alrighty. So, let's see. This is potentially a fun one.
Okay.
We've talked a little bit about this before, but I think it's always worth a little more conversation. Different reader affect the outcome. One of my psychic readers had said if you get different readings from different readers, it might change the outcome of a situation due to the fact that some readers always want to be right, so they will do whatever in their power to add bad energy into the field and make these predictions true. How honest is this? Like we've talked about a similar. Yeah.
They can delay. It depends on if you're going on like timing. And, excuse me, how many readings you're getting. Okay. Understand that every reader has an energy signature. And if you're getting reading after reading after reading after reading after reading after reading and after reading, like I've met clients, and if their living room had carpet in it, it was covered in muddy boots by how much energy had been walking through there. I've seen it delay things. I've seen it make people like just stop. Like they'll stop communicating, they'll stop talking to the person. And it's nothing wrong with the relationship. It's that they just feel weird and like people's watching them all the time. And these are people that are getting readings like every day on their relationship. So I don't think that they put bad energy in there, but I do feel like there's an observer effect.
Yeah. And that's mostly what we've talked about is, and additionally, if you want to go theoretical, I guess you could have different readers give you different information.
Mm-hmm.
And if you act on one that is particularly bad information, like they don't want this outcome to happen for you, and so they they tell you the wrong information.
Right. Like
again, it's theoretical. Like you could. Most readers aren't going to pull that in most situations, but we've run into a weird phenomenon.
Well, we've ran into a few, and they'll do things, and it's like, why did you do that? Why did you tell them to text them when they just broke up? They don't want to hear anything. They need time to process. and you have them obsessing this person.
Mhm. Well, and I think that's one instance in which potentially the reader is trying to push the situation
Exactly.
to like instead of letting it naturally, calmly
Right.
resolve itself. Like,
Right.
as in, this is a relationship that is gonna end.
Right. And see, I see that as like when you're using Google Maps and Google Maps takes over your car.
Yeah, like basically if Google Maps could all of a sudden just like lock you out and be like, I got this.
Right.
Turning left in 500 feet into a brick wall.
Exactly.
Like it's gonna end. It's gonna end in a fireball.
Right.
But we've also seen situations and heard from people that have been in those situations where a reader didn't particularly agree with, as that reader would have put it, their lifestyle choices, and seem to very aggressively steer them out of,
right,
or set up obstacles for,
right,
like their relationships.
right, very much so.
And like the reader got icked on Polly.
Right.
It's like, ugh. And then because of how they're reading the situation in their own perspective, not the client perspective, but their own perspective, and they're ew, 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 ick, 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 they, and I think some of it's intentional.
I think a lot of it is.
Well, I like that's debatable, I think.
Well, what I mean by that is I see these readers, and then there's two main categories. One is alternative lifestyles, poly, ethical non-monogamy, whatever, and then LGBT. I've heard of readers either refusing or getting it so, what's the word? Basically telling the person they're wrong and that they're living a lie and they have an attachment and yada 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 down a horse fit.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Granted, there are situations in which an ethical reader would just hands off it and be like, I can't do this reading.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if, for instance, nightmare scenario. Someone were coming for a reading and say the POI person
right,
were a minor.
Right.
And, nope, sorry, you're asking me to talk about an illegal relationship. This is totally inappropriate. There is no information I will give you.
Right.
This is inappropriate.
Right.
You need help.
Right.
Like, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything one way or another. I already know this is wrong.
Exactly.
Versus, like, that's what a good reader should do.
Right.
Versus situations where readers are like, I'll read on it. Like, you do with that as you will. That's your life choices. And it's like, no.
Right.
It's not.
But then you have what I call, and these are normally readers, and I'll tell you that the texting they will have in their ad will talk about godliness and being gifted by God and yada, yada, yada. They will freaking have a fucking meltdown cursing, he's just going to break your heart and, he doesn't love you. And it's like, what are you talking about? And like, that's all they do when they encounter a situation that goes against their beliefs.
Right. Well, and sometimes that's the struggle. I mean, I don't think there's an appreciation sometimes for the fact that when you contact a reader, professionally, they have to divorce their personal feelings about a situation.
Right.
To deliver information you need.
Right.
Even if they're looking at it going, ugh.
Yeah.
Like, that's, you're really?
Yeah.
Like, we're trying to get you together with this piece of shit. Really? Like, you can't do better. You don't want better. Spirit is literally telling me to push you towards this piece of garbage. Okay.
Well, here's the thing, and this is the line I draw in the sand. Yeah. And people don't like it when they go, should I break up with him? That's not my decision.
Like, I can tell you the information. I can tell you he's cheating on you. I can tell you he's got a family 2 cities away. I can tell you he has emptied your bank account. I can tell you he has done all sorts of things that average human being would go, oh, hell no.
Right.
His ass to the curb. Just put him in trash bag. He done.
Right.
He done.
But that's not my position.
But if you decide.
Exactly. My position is to provide the information. What you do with the information is your choice.
Like, if you're determined to fix this DIY project.
Right, but people don't like that. And a lot of readers don't like that. It's like I read on the third and fourth person. They don't like that. They're like, oh, you can't read. Yes, I can read on the third and fourth person. There's an involvement.
Like, and this is a pathway.
Right.
And these are interconnected things.
Right.
Like, because if you stay in this relationship in which someone is cheating on you, that also means they're staying in a relationship, potentially or not, with the person they're cheating on you with, and that has consequences.
Right.
Or, it is all interconnected.
It is all interconnected. I have no problem reading third person. I have no problem reading fourth person. I do have a problem reading when there is no connection.
Oh, yeah. Like, no, this is not voyeurship. Like, what's Bill Gates doing right now?
Eating dinner, but none of my business.
Well, but again, as a reading, it's inappropriate.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not calling up Elvis.
What's your connection? Why would you want to?
Exactly. All right. So next question.
All righty. So I'll switch over. So that one was from the psychic subreddit.
Right.
Let's see. Ooh, you might have fun with it.
I have fun with these all the time.
Never mind. I'm skipping it. It's someone underage asking.
Okay.
Like, the first part of it caught me, and then I saw the age, and I was like, nope.
Nope.
We wouldn't do it as a question on the show. We're not doing it as a question from Reddit.
Right.
Okay, this one is vague enough.
Right.
Oh, baby witch. We like baby witches. They're always fun.
Yes.
Like, kitchy. All right, strange experience I need help understanding. I believe spiritual. Hi, everyone. So I'd like to preface I'm a baby witch and still learning. I also have autism, which affects my perception and socializing. Please be patient while I explain this. I do hope this is okay to bring up here. For context, I'm pretty sure a deity might be reaching out to me. I soft believe in a few, and I'm wondering if it could be them or someone else. I'm currently looking into my own DW. I'm not.
That's ancestry.
Okay. I'm not asking for help. I'm trying my best on my own, but thinking back to the patterns and experiences I've had, this story keeps coming up and I feel abnormal. Looking from the outside, the story doesn't feel strange at all, but it definitely was. I was walking home around 2 a.m. from work, about a 15 to 20 minute walk. It's quite peaceful, to be honest, and I really enjoy it. I love the nighttime. It suits me. But this particular night was very foggy, and I mean very. It's not uncommon for my town to be foggy since there is a lake, though my work isn't anywhere near it. But the fog was stronger than normal. I didn't think anything of it, thought it was eerie but pretty, and started walking home. But it felt like someone was with me the entire time. Anytime I get anxious, any other time I'd get anxious, suddenly I was calm. I have an anxiety disorder, so this is out of the ordinary. For more context, my job is next to a bunch of shopping centers, open spaces, quite a few big empty parking lots. I was walking on the other side of the road from it when I noticed about 5 or 6 deer just standing in one of the lots, some of them just watching me. Again, I know, not out of the ordinary, but it's not common to see that many together in my town, and the way they were watching me wasn't what I was used to. I've lived many places with deer before, different towns than this one. They weren't scared, they were curious. They were just watching me. Even when I got far away from them, there was one who never stopped looking. I freaked myself out thinking of the skinwalker videos I've seen before, but again, suddenly I was calm again. Skinwalkers, FYI, freak me out. Even at home in my safe space, those lures can get to me, so me calming down so fast was freaky. And no, I didn't calm myself down. As I was about 2/3 of the way home, I kept running into bunnies. That's not uncommon as well, but there were so many. Usually the bunnies are terrified and run away from me, even when I take detours to not spook them. But this time, a couple of them were just watching me. One even let me cuddling my cats.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one even let me get close. I made it home safely, and to be honest, I can't remember the feeling if someone with me stayed or not. I was too busy cuddling my cats. I understand how this doesn't sound out of the ordinary, that there's perfectly reasonable explanations for this, and looking back, I could totally be seeing things, but I don't think I am. I know what I experienced during it. I know what I felt. It wasn't normal. Every time I think back to deities, I think of this moment. Does anyone maybe know why? Am I going crazy and seeing things, or
No.
something happening?
Ooh, I'd love to know what path they're covering, but it looks to me like they have voicemail waiting.
Basically, yes.
Yes, yes.
It's a
Yes,
lot friendlier and awesome sounding when it's not 70 miles an hour in a car.
exactly. But I think they have voicemail waiting. I would be interested if they're going Celtic. If they are, they may want to look into Carridwen and probably Cernunnos or the Morrigan. Definitely Carridwen because of the rabbit. The Morrigan or Cernunnos because of the deer.
Okay.
So,
Hey, maybe they're a dual deity.
and they can be dual deities. All right, let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Are you ready for an enchanting journey of self-discovery and empowerment? Dive into the mystical world of Wicca with our courses guided by Lord Aeson Knight. Unveil Wicca's secrets, explore fundamental principles, and delve into essential topics like deity relationships and the purpose of rituals. Aeson Knight, a third-degree high priest, shares his wisdom through life coaching lessons, guiding you towards a brighter future. Step into the inner circle of enlightenment. Enroll today to embark on a journey toward a more empowered you. Click the link to take your first step into the magical circle.
Ready to join the Psychic Coffee Shop Network? By becoming our patron, you'll unlock exclusive content from Aeson Knight, host of the Psychic Coffee Shop podcast and co-host of the Mountain Bears podcast, alongside the tech-savvy Techie Joe. Choose from subscription options ranging from Tall $1, Grande $5, to Venti $10 per month, supporting us in covering production costs and beyond. Depending on your subscription level, enjoy discounts on private readings, free access to classes and special events, behind-the-scenes extras, and the chance to participate in station meetings. Plus, you'll get early access to new content and the opportunity to shape future topics. We'll acknowledge your support in the credits of our videos. Don't wait. Brew some magic and join us today as a valued member. Link in the show description. Aeson Knight, your gateway to a transformed life. In a world where anyone can claim to be a life coach, Aeson stands out as a true professional with the skills and qualifications to guide you on your journey to success. So why invest in a personal life coach? Let's explore the game-changing benefits Aeson brings to the table. Ever find it hard to stay committed to change on your own? Aeson's expertise ensures you stay on track. With him as your coach, that internal drive kicks in, motivating you to keep your promises and achieve your goals. Making a change is tough, but Aeson makes it 1,000 times easier. He's your unwavering support, guiding you through challenges, pushing you beyond your limits, and believing in you even when you doubt yourself. Friends are great, but they may not always want to see you succeed. Aeson, on the other hand, is dedicated solely to your success. He removes negativity and limiting beliefs, giving you the tailored support you need. Forget endless hours deciphering advice from books and videos. Aeson is your shortcut to effective change. He saves you time and money by offering personalized attention, guiding you toward the tools and lessons that will truly work for you. Ready for a better tomorrow? Book your discovery call with Aeson Knight now. Take the first step toward the life you've always dreamed of. Aeson Knight, your partner in transformation. Start your journey today.
All right, welcome back. Yes, we took a break. Hello, Shannon. Lovely to see you rolling in, even though you're tired.
We accept that hit here.
Yes. All right, so what do you got for me next?
All right, so from our psychic, help needed for a translation of a reading.
Awesome.
A situationship gone south used to be the best of friends. It turned into a manipulation, me being used scenario to me blocking him fully on a whim. My reader stated there's a connection, but, quote, he has low energy around him and he, quote, sabotaged any hope and does not want an end to us. I felt it was contradicting, or I'm just too overwhelmed with emotions or conflict to see the clearest day reading. Not sure what the energy part has to do with it. Thanks all for any help in translating insight.
All right, so low energy around him. Okay, let's throw that to the side then, because that's useless information. Okay. That could be him being at work and hating his job. That could be him not taking a shower today. That could be 100 different things. So remove that from the category. He is self-sabotage, which is a behavior of poor self-worth. So, it's kind of like you're going good, but you don't deserve it, so you get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like you want this thing, but you don't believe you can have the thing.
Right.
So you do everything to get rid of the thing to confirm the fact that you were right, that you didn't deserve the thing.
Right. It's like, oh, you want to weigh 120 pounds, but you keep eating McDonald's every day.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was like the test version of like, you want to get an A in a class.
Mm-hmm.
You don't crack the book, but you don't believe you're good enough to do it. So you plan study time that you don't use.
Mm-hmm.
You plan to read the book, but you don't finish it.
Mm-hmm.
You show up late for the test and unprepared for it, and you get a D in the class.
Right.
And then it's like, see, I knew I couldn't do it. And
right.
It's like, but you took every opportunity
mm-hmm.
to do it and did not that.
Right. So, so there's that. And then does this relationship move forward? No. Move on.
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely a scenario where it's like, I feel like this is the soft, like, here's all the reasons. Well, but I guess that's kind of true. Here's all the reasons not to be with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want a DIY project? Because you're going to have to fix it.
Well, and it's not going to give you what you want out of the relationship, because until he fixes his self-worth and his ability to think that he can have a relationship, it isn't going to work.
Mm-hmm. Side note: DIY men are not a thing.
Well, they're problematic. They are a thing, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of frustrating situations.
Well, I was going to say and it doesn't usually work out.
No.
Like,
yeah. So, message of the reading is get the fuck out.
Pretty much, like, move along.
Right. And the reader can try to explain it 100 different ways. Oh, he's got low energy. Bullshit. So he needs to take a shower. He's got body odor. Got it. Let's move forward. But at the end of the day, he has too much psychological issues to deal with to give you the relationship you want. Even though he wants it, he doesn't want it bad enough to make changes.
Let's see.
All right, this is our last one on the psychic side or the witchy side, and then we'll be asking if you're the asshole.
Okay. I'm having to skip through a few because a lot of these, like, we've either talked about before or it's like there's nothing here.
Right.
Because like cord cutting is big over here on Real Witchcraft. And
it is. It's the new TikTok-y thing, and it's like, what are you cutting cords of?
Yeah, like,
sorry, that's my position. What are you cutting cords of?
Oh, I wanted your opinion on this one. So this is going to be a fun one. Let's watch Aeson's head explode.
Okay.
At least from the brief read I just did. Okay, for those who haven't tried this yet, AI programs like ChatGPT and Claude AI have been trained on the entire public internet. So if you can Google it, you can ask AI about it, and that extends to magic. Here are 3 examples. The use of circles in witchcraft, the metaphysical properties of willow, the risks of incorporating demons into your practices. I began practicing in 1988, and while I haven't asked AI about a whole lot of things about magic, so far I've been impressed with the accuracy of the results. Note that I did not preload my ChatGPT with any of my own personal beliefs or practices before generating the above responses. So edit to add, the number of people who assume that AI only spews garbage without bothering to check out the links or give AI a try is a little depressing, or a little disappointing. It's also a little hard to credit such opinions as those are by definition opinions based on ignorance. I think it's telling that okay. The reason I picked this one, and it didn't quite go where I wanted it to, but I think it kind of also did.
Okay.
So take it away, Aeson. What are your thoughts on using AI for witchcrafts, creating spells, running the whole gambit of magic?
Well, one, I don't think AI can do magic. Do I think AI can do your research for you? Yes. But there's a problem with that. AI is not going to get the right research for you if you do not train it correctly to handle itself.
Well, and I think it's sometimes I think you almost have to approach AI like it's a potentially broken recipe.
Right.
Now, when I say that, what I mean is if you've cooked for any amount of time, like I can't do this with baking. I can do it with cooking recipes. I can fix a cooking recipe all day long. Mm-hmm. I suck at this for baking. So understand. If you're looking at a cooking recipe and you cook all the time, you can see the wrong ingredient, mm-hmm. The wrong measurement, mm-hmm. The wrong temperature, the wrong baking time, anything wrong with the recipe, you can kind of self-correct and be like, that doesn't look right.
Right.
Like, why would you, like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
The problem is if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have the experience and you just blindly ask ChatGPT for anything, including, spells and information about witchcraft, and you take that as 100% fully functional, and you don't have the skill and ability and experience to be like, okay, I was up with you till you said, and that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
Like, if you're lacking that, then do not follow this verbatim.
Right.
Make sure you have someone who knows what they're doing help you with this and ensure that what you're seeing is legitimate Because until you have that experience to look at something and be like, there's something wrong with this. Like if you're cooking spaghetti, like let's go with a simple one. You're making your sauce and you're doing it all from scratch. And you suddenly see somewhere in this recipe that it's calling for 24 cups of garlic. You need to figure out real quickly one of two things has occurred. Someone effed up horribly. The word, well, there's a few things that could go wrong here.
All right. Well, give me a minute.
2 to 4 cups and you're making enough for an army. Right. Is that 2 to 4 cloves of garlic, which would make more sense. Be a little garlicky, but reasonable. It's in reason. What are you, like, if you can't sluice that information out, be careful with what you're reading. And especially if you're going to actively try to take that forward. With a lot of people who are, sole practitioners, is be careful trying to use the tools of the future, because if you don't know what you're doing, Shannon says, excuse you, 24 cups of garlic sounds about right to me. Okay, we're not trying to clear all the, vampires from the U.S.
Hey. Do you need more spaghetti?
24 cups of garlic. 24 cups.
Uh-huh.
I said what I said, Brenda. I said what I said. I mean, it depends upon quantity. If I'm trying to make dinner for like 2 to 4 cloves of garlic is plenty. Plenty. Your sauce will be fine. If I'm trying to make an institutional quantity of spaghetti, I will need more garlic. A lot more garlic. If I'm trying to feed an entire military base, I might be using 24 cups of garlic. Well, Shannon says, nah, half a bulb. I add more than that to garlic bread, 2 to 4 cloves. Half a bulb. That's about 2 to 4 of the cloves. Oh, Brenda says, I will send you my garlic potato soup recipe. But again, how much quantity does it make? Can I feed like a family of 15 with it? Then yeah, you use a lot more garlic. But if you can't figure out that like the sauce and the little baby saucepan with some, a single little can of crushed tomatoes does not ever need 24 cups of garlic. Like, 1, it will not fit in your saucepan, and 2, that's an obscene quantity of garlic. Like 24 cups of garlic. And Brenda says, Joe, even the vampire lord agrees with you.
Yeah.
Shannon says, what baby head of garlic are you using? Oh, I've killed them. Like, I'm sorry.
Spoken on.
Like, 2 to 4 cloves is enough. Like, back off the garlic, people.
Well, it's got some ethical things put in there. That's at least respectful. It won't tell me how to make someone a slave to my will. It also won't tell me how to make a zombie. But it will tell me that, blowing cinema into my front door is a more modern practice of the last 5 to 6 years.
Okay.
So what do I think about this? I think it's great if you want to check yourself or you're needing some additional resources. The same as Googling something.
Leave me alone. I buy, small garlic. Ah. Oh, wow. All right. So Shannon eats a clove a few times a day to keep my blood pressure down and stave off mosquito bites. But if I'm cooking, it's at least a quarter a cup for just myself. Wow. That's a lot of garlic to me. Like, I'm sorry, it's just so much garlic. Oh, and then raw or pickled. Okay. I mean, now, okay, there is a difference I should point out. If you're dropping a whole clove in there, and then you're straining it back out, but if it's minced, like if you're talking like garlic paste, you just that's
But it will tell me how to summon an archangel. Okay.
okay. So you can summon an archangel, but it draws the line at creating his own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, and it goes into ethical responsibilities, personal preparation, seeking guidance.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll give it a 3 out of 10.
Okay. I mean, it handles the basics.
Right.
And knows where some ethical lines are.
Exactly.
Brenda says, strain it out, sacrilege. Oh. Like, I'm not having spaghetti with you people. You're trying to kill me.
Please, I've tried to kill you, or at least in case you were demonically possessed.
Yeah, you cleared the county on that one.
Not really, Anyhow, moving on. Let's find out if you're an asshole, even though you have a small palate for garlic.
Okay. Am I the asshole for telling my parents to ask their foster children for help instead of me? My 34 male life could have been okay growing up, except that my parents wanted to be good people. So they became foster parents. I think that was noble of them. Those kids needed help. The downside was that I got ignored. I got less attention than those kids because I was independent and didn't need the help. Gifts from my gifts from my grandparents became gifts for the family. My grandparents put a stop to that by not buying me gifts, but taking me out instead. I got to go see movies and taken out for meals and weekend trips with my grandparents. My dad's folks took me to Disneyland, and my mom's mom and dad took me to New York. My parents tried to get the money for this stuff given to them instead. I begged my grandparents not to do that. I left the house when I was 17. I graduated early and got into a trade. My grandfather was in the union and he got me in. I've been at it for 17 years now and I'm doing okay. My parents are not. They ran themselves ragged taking in all those kids. Even the money they got wasn't enough to make up for their sacrifices. They asked me for help and I said no. I know that if I give them money, they will just waste it on the kids they took in after I left. I told them that they had a plethora of foster kids that they could ask for money. My mom said she was disappointed in me and that she thought she had raised me better. I said I raised myself from about 8 years old onward. My grandparents are tapped out too. My parents already owe them so much money. My wife says she understands how I feel, but thinks I'm being mean. My mom thinks I'm holding a grudge from childhood. I refuse to speak with my father, but I assume he is still giving my old things to the new kids. All right, so the explanation for why they might be the asshole is my parents decided to blow all their time and money fostering kids instead of parenting me. Now they are out of money. They asked me for help. I might be the asshole because I told them to ask their foster kids for help.
I don't think they're an asshole. I think they need therapy, but I don't think they're an asshole.
Well, I think everyone can do with therapy. I don't think their response necessarily, given the situation, is going to change with therapy.
Right.
I mean, heal your wounded inner child. They deserve it. You deserve that.
Right.
The reality is, though, I don't think you have a bad read on this situation.
Right.
I think you are approaching it with a lot of built-up resentment and anger.
Agreed.
But I don't think your read on it is wrong.
Right.
Like, I think you legitimately got neglected as a kid because your parents were trying to help more people than they could, creating a situation in which everything became all about fostering children so they could feel good
Mm-hmm.
and keep like upping the ante on that,
Right.
without realizing what it was doing to the very people they were trying to help.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of like this moment where, like, you try to cram everyone into the lifeboat
Right.
without realizing you're sinking the boat.
Right.
Like, you're over capacity. You're not gonna save anyone if you sink the lifeboat.
Right.
It doesn't work. At some point, you have to go, I'm sorry, there's no more room.
Correct. And at a point, you have to also look at what you're doing. And, what's occurred in this marriage, what's occurred with this relationship is the bigger questions. And it sounds to me like they were pushed to the side. And then taking your child's gifts to give to your foster kids.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that if, as a child, you had volunteered that,
Mm-hmm.
that would have been amazing.
Right.
I also don't think there's anything wrong with a child who's like, my gifts.
Right.
Now, I do understand sometimes the animosity that can create in families, especially families with adopted kids and foster children,
Mm-hmm.
where grandparents are like, no.
Right.
You have one child.
Right.
We support that one child.
Right.
The rest of those kids are your problem.
Right.
We don't. I can understand there can be an animosity there. I would wish better out of the grandparents
Right.
with that.
Right.
But I can also understand that that's not a child's problem.
Exactly.
That's not, an 8-year-old should not have to work through the complexities of that.
Right.
So yeah.
Again,
I'm gonna go with not the asshole. I think you could definitely benefit from therapy and working through the feelings for your own benefit.
Mm-hmm.
That's neither here nor there for this situation. And
Right.
whether or not you're an asshole, you're not the asshole.
Right.
I think you got a solid read on it, and all you're doing is helping them do the thing that's already hurting them. You're enabling the behavior that on the surface looks great,
Mm-hmm.
but is continuing to hurt them.
And continuing to, hurt the children.
I mean, basically, you have parents that are people hoarders.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't take care of this many people. It's like when people hoard cats. And it's like, I think it's great you want to help the kitties.
But
I think that's great. But if you're doing it at a point in which you cannot afford to support the cats you have and they're literally dying in your home,
Mm-hmm.
you have moved from helping to hurting.
Exactly. And if they're already 17 years into a position,
Mm-hmm.
that puts, all right, let's say basic parent is 21.
So they did 9 years before he left the house.
Right.
It says started when they were 8, somewhere in here. So 9 years plus another 17 years, and they're still taking in kids.
Yeah.
I mean, do I think it's rude? I think it's rude. I think what OP said was rude. Do I think it's wrong?
Not at all.
Think it's unkind? I do not. I think there needs to be a reality check that you've got to stop.
Right. And, so I'm going with not the asshole, but the poll is up. We will read the decision after we take on this relationship advice. Your choices are everyone's shitty, yes, no, or you're a deal pickle.
I like Brenda's comment so far. Fostering is the drug.
Right.
All right. The poll is up, and relationship advice. Why do boys go cold? This guy I knew dated one of the sweetest girls ever, and they had the cutest relationship, literally the most sweetest relationship ever. Me and her were super close, so I was up to date with their relationship. I was actually really good friends with him too. So I knew both the good and bad of their relationship. But anyways, they dated for 2 years and he decided to end the relationship. She was absolutely devastated for a while, but now she seems to be healed. He completely changed schools and moved to another city. Him and I were really good friends, so I talked to him a few months ago to check up on him, and conversation was fine, normal. However, just recently, I bumped into him and talked to him. He was just completely different. He wasn't the nice boy that I knew when he was dating my friend. He was cold and stuck up. It was like he completely changed. I've heard from other people too that he's just completely different. His attitude and appearance is different. He's just super cold now. Why is that? As far as I knew, the breakup happened fairly easy. They ended on good terms, but they obviously don't talk or have contact. Nothing but well wishes, so why the complete switch up? Especially when he doesn't show his emotions on his sleeve like that.
She won you in the divorce.
I feel like the end is kind of the answer.
Right.
I don't think you ever knew him.
Right.
I think you knew a version of him.
Right.
And you liked that version of him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking this is one of those breakups where that version of him got fucking exhausting.
Exactly.
And so the relationship ended, I think, in a good way. That he could get out before he gave up the mask, that version of himself. He ended the relationship so he could take off the mask and hopefully be more of himself.
I have a different take on it.
Okay.
My take on it is she got you in a divorce.
Well, there is that.
Okay. And this happens very commonly. Friends don't get to decide, normally. Normally it's like, well, that's your friend, you talk to them. That's your friend, you talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I don't talk to you. We're not friends. You thought we were friends because I was dating her.
Dating. It's the I was nice to you because I was dating your friend.
Right.
I didn't actually like you. And that's what kind of gives me that masky feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And like trying to be the really good boyfriend.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, sometimes you're just a bastard.
Right.
And putting on that mask every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the inverse can happen. Some people like have issues with the fact that, and I'm trying to avoid the nice guy thing, but as in some people are genuinely kind human beings and do actually have bad relationship experiences because they're nice and trusting and unassuming and and then they get their heart broken and they get kind of sucked into this like incel and pick up this community that tells them to go be a bastard. And that's a mask they put on.
Right.
And it is a struggle because it's not genuinely who you are. Like, it sucks to get hurt in relationships.
Right.
It sucks more to try to achieve a relationship goal, as in the relationship is the goal, to put on a mask every day and pretend to be someone you're not.
Right. I think it's tiring and taxing and aggravating, and people let their mask slip, people's behavior change, and it's like, but yesterday you liked French toast, now you don't like French toast? What? You're vegetarian? We've been dating for 3 years and you've never told me you're a vegetarian. Yes, these are conversations people have had.
Like, it happens. Like, and there is this, I always call it the rules mentality and like where it can go wrong.
Right.
is when you sit and tell people, and there's whole magazines and websites and YouTube channels devoted to this concept
Mm-hmm.
of what they need to do to attract us, a partner, a spouse, a mate, or whatever. And it's like, okay, there's some basics that I hope we could all agree on and we could genuinely get to.
Mm-hmm.
Showering is a good
Right.
but then there's this other side of it that starts getting into trying to be someone you're not.
Well,
Like, you have to be stupid and you have to pretend he knows everything and
mm-hmm.
you have to do this, and it creates really awkward moments for people because you're trying to do an unnatural thing, and when you get good at it is actually
Right.
when you should be most frightened, because you've lost a part of yourself.
Right.
But two, it often leads to relationships that are built on this foundation, like a plastic foundation.
Right.
There's nothing of consequence here.
Well, not only is there nothing of consequence, there's no basis. There's no, like, and he has a full right to go cold. He has a full right to move on. And you have to unfortunately move on and go, okay, well, I guess that wasn't our, that wasn't our friendship that I thought we had.
So now some fun comments here.
Okay.
So Shannon says, my husband would say if certain friends got divorced, we belong to X or Y after the divorce.
Exactly.
Say it to their face too. Then they'd say, which one of you do we go to if you divorce? And he would go, we don't do divorce. I'll die. Fair. No, now for me, like if friends break up or divorce, I tend to try to, there's sometimes levels to that.
Right.
Like if I'm like the couple friend,
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of back off.
Right.
Like now, if we were friends before you met,
Mm-hmm.
you got to do some pretty effed up stuff.
Right.
For me to remain your friend, or for me to drop my prior to relationship friend. Like you got to do some effed up stuff for me to be like, I'm switching teams.
Right.
But for the most part, I like if it's just like a casual thing, I just try to back off and see who shows up.
Right.
It's kind of like finders keepers, like whoever makes their way back.
Well, and not only that, but it's kind of like, well, who won me in the divorce?
See, I'm a bigger fan of, like, this is not a child custody with a single-digit age minor child. I'm a full-grown adult. I can choose who I want to go with.
True, but very often you see it, and you can look back at the past and go, yep, they won me in the divorce because they're pursuing the connection, they're pursuing the friendship, they're dumping all the tea on my desk about that breakup.
Well, but then there's the awkward, like, and I fall into this more often than I want to, and this is why I back off, is I tend to be the child custody fight.
Right.
As in both of them want to keep.
Right.
And it's like, no. I do not need both sides of the divorce drama.
Right.
I do. Do you know how taxing it is?
Right.
To be on both sides of a divorce.
Right.
It's like, no, this is why I step away. I will drop contact with you if I even get the slightest hint I am in that position where I'm going to get pulled.
Right.
It's like, I'm not. You are both stuck with this.
I know. We are. All right, so let's go back up to the relationship one because there was some conversation there.
Oh, yes. All right, where are you at?
We're at Dark Huntress. There you go.
There we go. I have relatives who kept taking. Was that the one?
Yeah, that was the one.
Okay, I have relatives who kept taking in foster but couldn't afford it, and they had to stop that because they realized they couldn't afford it, even with what they were being sent for the kids' upkeep. Yeah. There's this idea that you can get rich fostering kids, and it has literally never happened. Like the conditions, like the maltreatment you would have to engage in for that to work out. We sincerely hope that the foster system screens out the people that would do that.
Right.
I'm not saying it never happens. I'm sure it happens way more than anyone wants to believe or think about or be burdened to know.
Right.
And it's why I do have a certain affinity for social workers.
Right.
Because I know that there's a lot of flack they get for the things they stick their nose in that they shouldn't.
Right.
But there's also the situations that because they're decent human beings, they will never talk about because it is too much trauma for them to let alone try to talk to another human being and be like, guess what this parent of a 5-year-old did today?
Mm-hmm.
Because
right.
you would need a therapist after that one passing comment.
Exactly.
So I have a certain affinity there that's like, I appreciate the fact that there's crap you've gone through that
right.
we don't get to know about, and I'm grateful.
All right. So it is unanimous. No, you are not the asshole.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shannon says, going back to the foster thing, they started requiring them to give each kid a $60 a month out of what they were paid out as an allowance, which pissed them off because it was already difficult on their finances. And I told them fostering was a rich people thing, not a poor family thing, because they couldn't afford one. Why get 5?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that is part of the realization is that like this is not a get rich quick methodology.
Right.
Again, the things you have to do to these kids to make this work out financially.
Right.
Well, you're a horrible person. You're eventually going to go to jail. Is the hope. Because the conditions you have to keep a child for that amount of money,
right,
to be profitable, you don't want to do that. Like, you're not a good person.
Right.
So yeah.
Insane. All right, guys. So let's pop out here and take a moment to thank our Patreons. There you go.
All right, so of course we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Joan Owen, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. And guys, we'll be back on Friday with Mountain Bears. This was going to be a little different. I'm not going to say what we're doing, but we're doing some Q&A. Yeah. I saw a video and I'm like, ooh, I like these questions, so we'll answer them.
I'll be checking on that life insurance as I was advised in the comment.
I didn't know this month. All right, guys. We will see you later. Bye, y'all.
Bye.